All right. Hello, all. Um, Today I'm making a video for you guys because in our last class we were looking at making line art from a photograph. Okay. It's a huge part of Adobe Illustrator. There's a lot of call for line art, and a lot of times it needs to be custom drawn from specific photographs. Okay. Your client may want you to use a piece of line art in a brochure on a website, almost anywhere in place of a photograph, usually for either information purposes, information graphic purposes, usually. Okay. So we are looking at that, and there's a couple of key things to remember when making um, line art from or vector line or vector art from a photograph. And number one is remember that you're working directly from a photograph and using it as a template, but it is still just a template. Okay. You can make your own judgments on it in what's important to keep and what's important to get rid of to keep the image simple enough, but yet detailed enough as well. And also, the other thing to keep in mind is that a when doing a drawing, okay, the there's no one thing that's any more difficult than anything else to draw. The process is completely the same. So what we're going to be doing is going to be um, very similar to creating our South Park character, okay, and creating your basic shapes with using the pen tool and the shape making tools like the ellipse tool and the rectangle tool. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of things that are similar to doing the South Park character and to doing those exercises. It's just that it's on a little bit more of a complex um, image, but it's absolutely done the same way. The level of difficulty isn't any harder than what you've already drawn. So I'm going to share my screen. In order to save time, I've already uploaded the image to use as our template. Okay, and you guys know how to do that. You can drop and drag, or you can place, and then you remember you have to go to the links layer and in or the links box, and in there there'll be a layer with your template, and you go to the hamburger menu and come down to embed images. Okay, and right now it's grayed out because I already have mine embedded. Okay, but you want to make sure you embed that. And again, it's under Window. You come down to links, and then it opens up the links box, and you say, or and you embed your image there. All right. So that being said, let's take a look at the 7 steps that we're going to need to take to complete this assignment. Okay. Number one is draw the perimeter of the car body. All right. So we're going to draw the complete outside of the vehicle first, excluding the little tail wing because that's like an add-on. Okay. And the way to think about doing these drawings is to think of it like a puzzle, like you used to work on when you were a toddler. Those puzzles that were within a framework, and you drop the pieces down into the framework. Okay, the perimeter is going to be the framework, and any images that we put inside of it as full shapes are going to be the pieces going in to fill that perimeter. Okay, such as the windshield and the windows. All right. There's also going to be a couple of places where you're going to want to just use a line to create a contour shape on the side of the car. There and up at the top here, coming down into the front end of the car. Okay. They do not have to be shapes that are complete shapes and filled in. But the rest of the shapes should be complete shapes, even if you're tracing over the perimeter at some point a little bit within your drawing. Okay, and you will be doing that, especially for like the windshield area the light back here when we do the add-on and the wing on the back. The headlights, they'll be standing out by themselves along with most of these vents and so on. Down here again, we'll be tracing this bottom part of the perimeter to complete that shape. Okay. But we'll draw the perimeter of the car first, then the side of the tire and the wheel. Okay. That'll be very similar to doing the eyes of your South Park character. Okay. Then we'll draw on the windshield and the windows and so on, and any other details that you want to keep in the vehicle, like the side windows, the grill on the front, the um, headlight, the driving lights, and so on. Okay. Um, then we'll go to the inside of the tire, and there's a special way that we'll do that. So you'll want to follow that. And then finally, the shadow behind the car to give it something to sit on so it's not floating in air. Okay. The uh, the front wheel and tire, you'll notice, is very similar to the back wheel and tire, only it's smaller. So we're going to draw the entire front and then duplicate it, take it back to the back, and then we'll resize it to where it fits in to the back wheel and tire in an effort to save time. Because remember, you want to be able to complete illustration as quickly as possible because it increases the dollar value that you'll be making on a per drawing uh, payment plan. Okay, so I've gone ahead and in order to save time, I've already outlined the perimeter of the vehicle, as you can see, and as you'll note, I did it using the least amount of line segments that I had to, um, coming around the perimeter of the shape of the car. Okay. Remember, you don't want to do the little chippy click, 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 click all around this curve when the curve can be made with one line segment. Okay. So this is the perimeter is already done. I'm going to put a red stroke on it so that we can see it a little more easily, see how it stands out from the car. Later on, we can change it to whatever color we want to change it to in an effort to finish up the illustration. But to be able to see while we're working, the red works really well. That's just a preference thing for me. If you want to work in black, feel free to do so, or any other color that you find easy for yourself to be able to see what you've completed. Okay. So with that being said, let's take a look at this vehicle as it is filled in. Okay. There it is, and you can see what you've created. You can see the perimeter of the vehicle, and you can see that it's pretty accurate. There aren't a lot of bumps. Okay, we don't want bumps where lines join and so on. And we want to be as accurate as we possibly can. So I'll turn that off again so we can see through the car in order to go to the next step. And the next step would be to draw the side of the tire and the wheel. Okay, we're getting the most basic elements in here first. So I'm going to zoom in on that front tire and wheel a little bit. And to draw it, we don't want to draw the ellipse with the pen tool because it's really hard to make a perfect ellipse using the pen tool without getting a bump here and there in the image. So our next best choice, or our very best choice, is to create it with the ellipse tool. Okay. And as we know, we can't do an ellipse that's on an angle. Okay. So we have to estimate or guesstimate to our very best ability the height and width of that ellipse that we need. And if we use the top and bottom of the tire and the sides of the tire as a guide for that, we can get pretty close, even though it's not going to be perfect. And then once we get the ellipse drawn, we can rotate it into place and then refine it in order to be the right size. So we have the ellipse drawn at what we are thinking is the proper size. Now we'll come over to the rotate tool, which you'll find in the toolbox, and click on it. And we want to click on the center of the ellipse. Okay, we'll click on the center to set the rotational point. From there, we come outside the ellipse and we simply turn the ellipse until we get it to be about the right size, okay, or the right position. And you can see that it needs to be a little wider here in the front, but the top and bottom and right side seem to be in pretty good shape. So I'm going to select the black arrow and select the entire image here and take this handle. Hold on one second until I'm able to select. Okay, I have that. Let's do it with the white arrow. We'll select just this point, and we're going to move that point out until it's correct in the positioning of our circle. Okay, so now we have um, an ellipse that looks about right to us. Let's go back. I don't like the way that worked out for us. So what I think we'll do is go back, since we know this has to be a little bit wider, go back to our ellipse being perfectly straight up and down. And now when we click on with the black arrow, for some reason, let me stop. Okay, we're back. We're going to go back and I'm going to undo the clear of our of the ellipse, undo the ellipse again, and undo until we get back to the spot. Okay, where we are putting the ellipse into position again. Okay, so here we are. What was happening was that under view, the bounding box was turned off. So I wasn't getting the box around the outside with the handles. Okay, but now we've got that back, and you can see there's a bounding box around the shape, and we're trying to make the tire about the right size at this point. Okay, so there we have it, and now we want to, I'm going to elongate it just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That seems a little bit better. Now we're going to rotate it into place using the rotate tool. We'll click the rotate tool, click in the center of the circle, and rotate it until we're just about in place. As you can see, again, it's a little bit narrow on this side, so we'll want to pull that out. So we'll go to our black arrow and see now we have a bounding box around there. And we can grab that handle and just move it over a little bit to put that tire into place. And you'll be able to tell that it's centered pretty well by looking at the center point of the ellipse, okay? And you'll be able to see that it's pretty close to the center point of the wheel itself, okay? So it should be pretty close to that if we're close enough for our drawing. So that's the side view of the tire. We have that in. So that's step number 2. We'll call it actually step number 2A because we're going to go up here and look at, we also want to draw the side of the wheel. Okay. And I'm going to make this just slightly wider yet. Coming back here, I see a little bit of a difference in it. There we go. So now we have that set up pretty nicely. Okay. So we now want to draw the outside perimeter of the wheel itself. And I'm still messing with this tire a little bit till I get it exactly the way I want it. There we go. Now that looks pretty good. So to create the side of the wheel, okay, we don't have to go through the drawing the ellipse again. We'll just click on this ellipse and go to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste in Front, and now it's pasted in front of the other ellipse, and we can just grab the handles and bring it down to the top of the wheel, bring it up to the bottom of the wheel, and then match the sides as well. And we're matching as close as we can, okay? Is it going to be perfect? Maybe not. Maybe it'll be off by a little bit. but remember, we are just using the image as a template. So that's pretty close though to the inside of the wheel. Now, by reducing that, we've also reduced the pen size of the of the stroke. So we'll have to go up there and make that 1 point again. Okay. And that happened because we scaled the image down. And when it scales the image, it also scales the uh, the rule as well, or the stroke. So now we have the outside of the tire, the outside of the wheel, and it felt like I was feeling a little bit of snap in there. So I'm going to go to view and see if that's turned on. Um, it's not, there is no snap here, but smart guides are turned on. We're going to turn that off, and it will stop that jump a little bit. Smart guides are something, or snap is something that's in Adobe Photoshop, and it works similar to the smart guides. Okay, so now we have the outside of the tire, the outside of the wheel. Let's do this inside of the wheel yet, and then we'll do the very inside. And we're going to accomplish those the exact same way that we did the outside of the wheel and the tire. Okay, we're going to duplicate the wheel, edit, copy, edit, paste in front, and then we're going to bring it down to this very inner circle on the inside of the wheel. And again, you'll see that the stroke is getting narrower, and we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to select it and go back up and make it 1 point. Okay. And if your stroke is not getting narrower, okay, it's not that you're doing something wrong, but instead in your tool over here, and if it's not getting narrower, it's okay. You want to leave it as is. But in the tools over here under the scale tool, if I double click on there, there's a box here that says scale corners, scale stroke, and effects. When they're checked on, they also reduce the size of the stroke when scaling things. So I am going to turn them off. Okay, and now we'll no longer have to worry about that. Okay, and the final circle we're going to put in here is the one that's the hole in the wheel where it slides over the little X, the indentation, and where the wheel sits onto the middle of the wheel. All right, so we're going to do it the exact same way. Edit, copy, edit, paste in front, and we will slide that down, slide this up, and slide it in on all sides until we have a pretty good representation of the perimeters of the main parts of this wheel. Remember that this drawing, we're going to say, is going to be used for information purposes, maybe in the manual of the car, maybe on a graphic information sheet or something. So details like the spokes in the wheel, if this was being done for, say, like um, an adult coloring book or something like that, because you use line art for that as well, then you may want to put these spokes in. Okay. But for something that's informational only, we want to keep it pretty simple and stay away from um, anything that will distract from the information that we're trying to put out there. The only thing that we might want to consider doing is duplicating this outside of the wheel and making it look a little bit more three-dimensional, okay? Because as you can see, there's an ellipse that comes along the inside here that disappears in the front but shows in the back. It's because we're doing a three-quarter view of the car. So let's do that. Let's go edit, copy, edit, paste in front. And this time we're going to move in on the side over here. But over here, it's going to come in even further. You can see that it's going on top of that area of the vehicle. And now it gives the appearance of a little bit more of a three-dimensional view. okay? And you'll see it better when we fill it in. Now, because we drew this ellipse after these other two, it's now covering them. So we should select both of those, holding Shift, and say Edit Cut, and then select the ellipse we just drew and say Edit Paste in Front. And now they'll be in the right layering order that we can select all of those and we can fill them with white, and you'll see what you have as you're drawing at this point. Okay, and that looks pretty good. That's all the detail we're going to need for this particular job that we're working on. All right, except we need the back side of the tire as well, which we will get to next. So, and the way that we do that is we select the outside perimeter of the tire, and we're going to move it over to be the outside perimeter or the very inside perimeter of the other side of the tire. Okay, so we're going to duplicate it. Edit, copy, edit, paste in front, and then we're just going to hold Shift and slide it over until it's at about. You can see the bottom part of the tire there. So we want to try to match up the center of the bottom of the tire in the template to the top. And it should look something like that, okay? When we slide it over. Now we're going to click on it and we're going to bump it up using the keys on our keyboard, the upward arrows. We'll click 1, 2, 3 times, and that moves it up to give it the perspective that we need. But you'll see that it's also in front of the tire, and this is the back. So it needs to be cut, edit, cut. And we actually want it to go behind not just behind this tire, but behind the body of the car, because you can see that some of it is invisible back there. So we'll click on the body of the car and say edit, paste in back, okay? And now you can still see it because the body's transparent, we can see through, which will allow us to finish off the entire drawing of the front tire, okay? And what we need to do is we have a front and we have a back, but we have no middle, okay? So we need to draw that in. And how will we do that? We'll use our, I'm sorry, we'll use our pen tool. And there's actually two ways to do this. I'm going to show you the way that probably will be easiest for us here at our level, okay, which is to click on this top point and then click on the top point of the back tire using the pen tool, click, hold, and then just put a slight arc on it. Not very much, just a very slight arc like that. You can see that it's filling in. I'm going to turn off the fill because I don't want it to fill in so we can see what we're doing. And then we're going to Alt-click on top of this end to get rid of the one handle, as we know. And we're going to trace over the top of this until we get to the next point. And we're going to click, hold, and drag on that point. And we're going to trace right over the top of that top of the ellipse, okay? And then Alt-click, trace around till we find the next point, which will be right there. Click, hold, and drag to trace over the top of that part of the ellipse. And then Alt-click to remove one of the sets of handles. Click, hold, and drag to make a little arc down at the bottom here. And then we can just close the shape by coming straight up to our starting point, okay? Let's fill that in and see what we've made. Okay, we fill that in, and you can see that we've made the inside of the tire. Here you can see that we have a little bit of a bump, right? So we want to get that out of there, and we can do that simply by clicking on this line segment with the white arrow and moving it down until we see that it's in a position that gets the bump out of there. Okay, so now it's much smoother. Okay. If you don't have that bump, very good. You did it right the first time. You didn't need to fix it. If you have the bump, you may want to try to fix it. Over here, I can see on my tire too that I need to fix over here a little bit. I didn't get the trace quite exactly right but it is going to be close enough because we're not seeing um, that part of the tire. It's going to be hidden behind the car. Okay, but we still want to try to make it as perfect as possible. Right. So now that we have this shape, you can see that it's over the front of this entire part. So if we click on it and cut it, edit, cut, and we click on the ellipse we have back there, we can say edit, paste in back of that ellipse, all right? And then we'll click on the ellipse and delete it because we no longer need it because it was a full image. We were just using it as a semi-template, okay, a second template. And now we have the full front wheel and front tire of the vehicle. So let's group the front part only. We'll select all pieces of the front part and we'll group it. Object, group. Okay. We don't want to group the back part yet because if we do that, it'll bring it in front of the body. And we don't want to bring it in front of the body. But we do have this section grouped, as you'll be able to see here. Okay, if I click on it, I have the whole section grouped. Now let's hold shift and click on the back part, all right? And we're gonna scroll over to where we can see the back tire. And holding the option key, we're gonna click on what we have, and that should duplicate the image, and we can drag it back and try to put it in place in the back, all right? If you find it difficult to hold the option key and do that maneuver, you can just simply click on the front, hold shift and click on the back and go to edit, copy, edit, paste in front. And now you can drag it back to the back of the back wheel. And we want to try to align the center part of the front tire of the front of the tire with the center part of the front of the tire in the very back here. But as you can see, it's very big. Okay, it's way oversized. So now we just grab our top while everything is selected. We grab with the black arrow the top handle, and we're going to pull it down and line up the top of the front of the tire with the top of the front of the tire on the template. And again, check the bottom to make sure it's okay, which it is. Then we'll take the right side and we'll squeeze that in until it's at the right side of the tire in the back. And we'll do the same with the left. And we'll line that up more at the bottom down here where you could see that, okay? And you'll see that we need to make it a little bit bigger there to cover that. But now I believe we have the two wheels and tires in pretty good position on our car, okay? Or do we? Let's take a look here real quick. I'm going to do this. Edit, cut, edit. I'll paste it back in place. But you can see that the front of the tire is in front of the body. And in our case, we have it too wide. So I'm going to paste it back in place. Okay, see how the front tire is getting cut off here? And we're going to squeeze it back until we get that in the right position, which is right about there. Okay, now we should check our height again. We're good. Check our at the bottom. We're good. Check on the right side. We're good. And now we're good, I believe, all the way around. What we'll do to check it is to click on this back part of the tire, go edit, cut, and then paste it behind the body again, edit, paste it back. And now you can see that we need to elongate this in order to make the tire the right width. But now we have a pretty good representation of the back tire as well. Might be a little bit wide there. Okay, we can come to about there. And I believe we can bring this out just a little bit as well. There we go. So that's just inside. All right. So that looks pretty good. All right. If you want to make it absolutely perfect, we can zoom in here. And you'll see that you can still see a little bit of the front of that tire there. If we click on this point right here and pull it out a little bit further, now you're finding that it's covering there. And it follows the shape a little bit better. All right. But for the rest of it, I'm going to say we're good because now let's fill in our car and take a look at what we have, almost like doing a preview mode type of thing. Okay, so there you can see the wheels and the tires look pretty good and pretty natural um, in the places where they are, and the body itself looks pretty good as well. All right, so now we'll move on to putting in the windows and windshield, and then any details that we want to keep on the body. Right. In this part, there's a lot of decision making to be done, and remember, we want to keep it as simple as possible, but we want to get, a good representation of the original photo as well. So we're going to turn off the body again so we can see through it by making it transparent. There we go. And remember how I said that we're going to fill in the pieces the way that you would with that little wooden puzzle that a toddler would play with? Okay. So in order to do that, let's click on the outside of our body, the perimeter of the body, and go to Object and go to Lock Selection. Okay. And now with the selection locked, we're not grabbing on to anything. And we could actually do that with the wheels too at this point. In fact, the back wheel we want to click on first and take the color out of that so we can see through to the car as well. So we'll take that out, the color out of that. But then we'll select on the front wheels to go with those back wheels, and we'll lock them into place. Object, lock, selection. So now the wheels and the body are all locked, and we won't be able to grab onto them and mess up what we've already drawn. Okay. So let's fill in this windshield first. Okay, that looks like a pretty big image that we can make as a single shape. I'm going to start right here where it's part of the body, and come down to the bottom here, and you'll see that we're covering up that part of the outside perimeter. Okay, uh, and we're going to use the option click here to get rid of one handle and work our way around the windshield. Okay, simple shape, just like we did in the exercises. Okay, so it's no more difficult to do this than to draw the simple shapes we had in the exercise. Okay, which you did amazing at, by the way. You guys did a great job on those. Okay, so there's the windshield in. And we're not going to put any of the interior imagery into it because it's going to have nothing to do with what we're using this illustration for. Okay. So we're going to fill that. We can fill that right away with white to see what we have. Okay. Very good. Look at that. It covers up nicely, comes around here. And now we have the windshield in. Okay. The other part that comes in next are the windows. All right. And we want to do the windows in again, we're going to do it in two steps. All right, actually more than two, but two individual steps here, and then one, two, three, four additional steps for the actual windows themselves. But much like the perimeter of the car, let's draw the perimeter of this area where the windows sit into, okay? Because it creates a frame. So we'll create a frame for it as well. And we'll start here and we'll create this shape as it is in our template. Come to about right there and see if I can pull that. I think I got it. And that's pretty good. I'm going to take the color out so I can see through. And I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter of the windows where it has that indentation. Okay. And at parts, I'm going to be on the outside of the indentation, on parts the inside, because we're simplifying this. Okay, there we go. Now we have the outside perimeter of that window area complete. So again, much like the outside of the car, all right, we want to lock this because we're going to draw over the top of it at some places, and we don't want to grab it with our pen tool. So we'll select it and then go to object, or I'm sorry, uh, yeah, object lock selection. So now we have another thing that's locked up, but it'll allow us to go in and create all these windows very accurately. Okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can see better. And I'm going to put in this bottom window. I'm going to start on the bottom line, but I'm not going to go all the way to the top line. And I'm going to try to put this in as accurately as possible. Okay, I need to adjust this point over here. So with my white arrow, I can move a point and put it into place. And I'm going to do the same here because we want this line to be pretty parallel running back, that the windows parallel the top rule of the frame. Okay, it'll just look much more realistic if we're able to do that. All right. So again, we'll start at the bottom, come up to the top, and put in the shape as we see it here. Okay, and we're gonna have to make some modifications to this when we're done. But nonetheless, we should be able to get the basic shape of the window in here uh, in pretty simple terms. Okay, I'm gonna use my white arrow to go in and move some points again to make it a little bit more accurate. Okay, and here you'll see that I flattened it out a little bit too much. So if I use the pen tool that has a little squiggly line and come out here and click on that in the middle, I can make the line bend. By putting a point in there, I can make the line bend, and I can bend it into shape to where I need it. Now I do have a little bit of um, a bubble there, okay, that you're seeing. So I'm going to have to reshape over here and try to get this to be uh, to fall into place where it belongs. If you have a little dimple here and there, it's not going to kill you on this particular image, but you do want to try to make it as perfect as possible. Okay, so there we have the front two. Now we'll work on the back two, the same way as the front two, trying to um, make this as accurate as possible. And remember, we're trying to keep the line at the top parallel, yet at the same time, it's a judgment towards the back here because of of perspective. Perspective would not allow that. The right perspective would not allow for that framework to be, perfectly parallel all the way back. So we are going to get a little bit skinnier towards the back, as you can see here, than we were in the front. All right. So we'll finish that one and then do this one. You do want to try to make them parallel though, vertically so that or at least these. This one has a little bit more bend to it because it's actually where the door is. So we'll put these in, and it ends a little bit to the left of where your original frame is, only because there's a little piece, a segment in the very back that is three-dimensional in the back. So we're going to try to keep that a little bit by making this look inset a little bit back in the back here. I remember try to keep these verticals um, correct as well. I'm going to reshape this just slightly because there's a little bit too much bend in it. That's a little better. Okay, now it looks more right. Okay, so there we have the windows in, and they're over the top of the framework. Again, after we do the uh, the rear view mirror, which I think is important to keep, we're going to fill the rear view mirror and the windows in with white, and then we'll also fill in our framework here with white as well. So let's go ahead in and draw the imagery for the rear view mirror. And for this one, we can simply make a couple of small shapes. We don't need to make a perimeter of the whole thing. It's small, so we'll just make the tiny shapes that it's actually composed of. There's one that's kind of a boxy kind of shape. Okay. And then we have the little bit of bend that comes up in here. And I'm not sure if that's a single bar or not, but I think it is. So we're going to treat it as such, and we'll just put it in like so. And again, we're overlapping down here a little bit. And we're also going to reposition a little bit to make this uh, parallel. There we go. So it's repositioned over the top of this front part, which is actually in the front. So we're gonna go object arrange and bring that to the front. Okay, so now we have that to the front, and then we're adding the um, the rear view window in there on the side. Okay, and we're gonna do that in a special way. We'll take the rectangle tool and we're going to make a rectangle about the size of our mirror. Okay. And we're going to take the fill out of it. And then we're going to rotate it just by coming up on the side of it and rotating it into place pretty close. Okay. So that looks like it's about the right size, a little bit short. So I'll take it up a little bit. And you'll remember that the outside perimeter of that mirror was rounded. Okay. Here it's square, but you'll notice there's four dots on the insides of each corner. With the black arrow selected, if you select the image, those four dots come up. And if you select one of those dots, you can pull on it in order to round the corners of the rectangle. Okay, let's look at that again. Undoing. Okay, we have just that square or that rectangle selected with the black arrow. Go into one of those dots, click on it, and pull inward, and it starts to round off the rear view mirror. Okay. Now we can bump it down into place where it attaches to that post. And it looks like it needs to be a little taller. There we go. We can fill that in with white because we're done with that. You can also fill that part in with white and this part. Oh, I'm sorry, with white, not empty. And we can group those because now we have the full rear view mirror drawn, uh, and that's completed. Okay. Now let's go back and fill in our windows. Okay. Fill them with white. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. It's starting to look. We can't fill in the perimeters yet because remember we have the perimeters locked along with the outside of the tire. So we'll fill that all in at the end. Okay. And now remember that I said that everything should be a closed object, and it has been so far, right? Except here on the side of the car, we have a couple of contours in the car that we're going to leave as open lines, okay? Because they're just lines that are creating the contour or a shape on the side of the car. And it looks to me like they come in about like this on the side, okay? And you can take the fill out of that, all right? And then also we have this top line that's coming here and down around to also help shape the side of the car. Now there's a top one and there's a bottom one. We're just going to do the bottom one because that's really all we need to give the idea of the shape of the side of this car, what the indentures and extrusions look like to create the body side of the body of the car. You could go in there and make that a double line if you wanted to. Okay, that wouldn't hurt. Uh, it'd be a little bit more detail, but it's not necessary. I'm going to put it in just to show you what it would look like with it in versus with it out. And then you can decide what you want to do with it. on your drawing. Okay, either way is going to be marked correct. Okay, but you can see it gives a little additional information. You'll also see though that we get this really sharp point back in the back doing that. To get rid of that sharp point, you simply go to your stroke, the stroke menu, and you got to go to window and down to stroke, and that'll open up the box. To get rid of that point, click on these rounded caps and rounded joints, and you'll see that it takes the spike off the end. Now here that we're in as a close up, we can see that this really should curve a little bit more at the top. And again, you can go in with your pen tool that has a little squiggly line and click in the middle of it and just move it upward, and it puts a bend. It'll put the bend into it. Down here, we can get rid of that squiggly line or that pointed line as well by clicking on the rounded cap and rounded endpoint. There we go. And now we have a pretty nice contour coming in on the side at the bottom. We have one at the top that we should put in as well that helps define the body. So if you start in the back here and come forward to about right here, it looks like, and then hold the Option key and pull an arc here. It's hard to see in the original image, but there's an arc there that connects these two line segments, this one and the one we're about to make. That's tough to see on the template image, but you can kind of figure out that it's there. So there's the contour of that. That's bringing the body around and giving it a three-dimensional kind of feel to it. Okay. So that is the side of the car pretty much completed. We can put this in. I would go ahead and put this light in. Okay. And again, the light is an extra that usually I would do at the end. And you'll trace the whole, well, let's do it. You trace this whole outside perimeter. And make this a closed shape. And you fill it. And there's the light in the back light in it. You would do the same for the spoiler on the back. You would do it in three pieces: 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now let's move to the front of the car and talk about that real quick. I'm not going to complete the entire front of the car. I'm going to leave that up to you guys to be able to take it from where I leave you. Okay. We'll take a look at this black area here, which houses, it's a little grill for the license plate. It's got a screen in it. We don't need to put the screen in it. Okay. We're just showing a representation of this, a simple representation. And again, we're going to do it by doing the perimeter of the whole shape. And then I'm going to show you how to finish it off. Okay, we're working on the perimeter. Need to take the color out so I can see through to finish the rest of my shape. Holding the Option key there to make this curve, because it's a little curve, really small curve here. Coming up to the top and creating this shape just like you would any other irregular shape using the pen tool with the curve properties and so on in it. The way we make curves. Okay, so there we have that black grill area perimeter finished off. Okay, now it is three-dimensional, so we really should show that it is three-dimensional by taking the screen part here. We're not going to fill in the screen itself, but we are going to show that it starts here and works its way across the bottom, pretty much parallel to the frame that we created. Okay, I'll have to go back and fix that because it doesn't look like it's parallel to me at this point. And we're going to go around the inside of it. Okay, we'll finish up this shape. And I can't really see this real good, so we're going to fake it in here. There we go. All right. So now we have the outside perimeter and we have this inside of the grill shape. Here you can see that my mark is pretty bad on here, how I have a big lump there. Okay, we need to get that lump out of there by clicking here and reshaping that curve. Okay, there we go, just with the handle. All right, pretty good. All right. Over here is where the three-dimensional property comes in. So for that, we're just going to, because we're going to come in and we're going to finish this up to show where the three-dimensional side of where you can see into this indented piece a little bit. And we're going to trace over the perimeter of that. Okay, my 1 point jumped on me. I have to go back and fix it. The one at the top. I let go of the key too quickly. There we go. And that sets it back in. The only other part I would really do to this piece here in order to keep it simple is to make these straight lines here. And again, they don't have to be complete shapes because they're sitting on top of something that's going to fill white, and they'll come off. They'll look white as well. All right. We do want to make sure that our outside of our grill here is pretty accurate to the bottom of the car because we don't want to have a big lump there. Good, we're good. I have to fix this. It's extending past the outside. Okay, and then last but not least, I put in the license plate. It is totally unnecessary for you to put in the license plate numbers. Okay, you don't need to do that for what we're doing here. Okay, and you can make that shape to finish the license plate. Okay, and that can be filled in with white as well because we're done with it. Just fill it with white. Okay, we fill this inside piece with white. Okay, and we fill the outside piece with white. You can see what we have, and it's a pretty nice representation. Now, this is the license plate, the inside of the grill, the outside portion of the grill. You can see that it has a little bump there. That's because the body contour, even though it's correct in the drawing, I'm going to move it down here because it makes our drawing look incorrect. All right, we want the drawing to look correct, or even if it means defying the template. Okay, so the grill would be done exactly the same way as this is down here. Okay, this light fixture would also be done the exact same way, and this headlight would be done the same way. And up here, you can put in these vents. They can be done the same way, as well as the hood scoop. Okay. The hood scoop is a little bit different in that I would create the hood scoop that it looks, that it goes around the perimeter of it like so. Okay. And no fill. Okay. And then I would go back in here again and pick this part of the hood where you started right on top. So you're keeping the shape the same shape. It's not going to get filled in. Okay. But it is open-ended over here. That'll allow you to come in here and complete this top piece. like so, okay? And make it a complete shape. Go ahead, that'll work out nicer there than if we don't. And fill it with white, okay? And then just put this line in here that comes down and it curves into this piece, okay? And that doesn't have to be filled, okay? And the same with the other side. You can put the straight line in that defines it on that side. Okay, I need to attach this a little better over here. And I need to straighten it out a little bit better. There we go. And that's the hood scoop on there, or the scoop. It looks pretty correct, I believe. Okay. And then I like I said, here's a contour line that can go in. Um, doesn't need to be filled, but it helps to shape the car. It shapes the hood. Okay, it does not need to be filled. And the hood of the car, I would bring down this way, not attaching it to the hood scoop. Bring it down this way. And that line does not need to be filled in, but you can see that now all the details are getting filled in. So when you finish these vents and the front, you're pretty much done. You could put this line in here as a contour line because it will help define the shape of the bumper. It also means that you have to be very careful to get it to be parallel with the bottom one as well because you want it to look uh, finished. Okay. You can put the one in on the other side. There we go. And I have an extra, I went a little bit far with that there, didn't I? There we go. Now we're in good shape, right? So now I'm going to unlock everything and fill in the white part of the perimeter of the car so we can see what we have exactly. And you'll see that you have a pretty good representation of what the car looks like, all right? You'd want to go back in and fill in your tires. And then when you're all done, instead of having your piece, you'll want to put that vent in back here. Okay, there's a vent on the roof. There's two on the hood, and you have your headlight here and your driving light down here at the bottom. You can't see the ones on the other side. Okay, but when it's all done, you can click in to your body a little bit, making sure not to click on any lines, but then come in and create the shape of the shadow at the bottom. And just complete the shape like that and fill it with black. Okay. And then select it, edit, copy. I'm sorry, edit cut. My bad. Select the thing that's in the very back, which are these tires. They're in the very back because we sent them to the back. And then we'll paste, edit, paste in back the shadow in there, and you'll see that it gives your car something to sit on. Okay. Now you can see that you can see through the areas here where it's black in the wheel well. Okay. If you can select your um, shadow, and you can maneuver that a little bit in the front and in the back to some degree, but in the back, not quite as much. Just do the front, okay? And then in the back, you have this shape that's a mud flap in the back here of the car, a protectant. And you can make that shape, and it's going to go behind the wheels. So you can actually go up and just make a shape that's behind the wheel like that. Once you complete that shape, send it to the back. Click and put it behind the shadow, edit, paste it back. And now that area is filled. And there's another option you can do. You can leave it as is, um, make your lines black, of course. You would select um, the entire, or you don't want to select the entire object. You want to the select the lines that have no fill in them. Okay, they have no fill, and go to select and say go to same and come down to stroke color, and everything that has that red stroke color is going to be selected. Now you can make those strokes black, and you have your black and white version of the drawing. Okay. One more thing I want to show you, just to as an option. Okay, doesn't need to be done, but sometimes makes the drawing look a little more finished, a little better. Is to click on the tires and make fill the tires with black, but only the inside of the tire. Okay, and then if you select the outside of the tire, you can um, put a white stroke on there. Up side of the tire. I filled it with white. It is already filled with white. I want to put a white stroke on it. There we go. Put a white stroke on it. It will, um, it will. I'm sorry, that's not correct. We don't want to put a white stroke on that. We want to put the white stroke on the inside of the tire. My bad. And that helps define the tires a little bit. Okay. In the back here, I can see that it's a little bit misshapen. Okay, you can see that it sticks out here a little bit. If you click on that tire, you can grab that point and bring it down. And now it defines the tires a little bit better on the car. Okay, again, not necessary. Sometimes it looks good. Other times you make the judgment that you don't want it in there. I'm going to go with no this time. Okay, and just leave it like that. I think that looks really good. So once you get all of your drawing done, okay, you can select all of it and group it. Oh, you can see that I got the template along with it. Okay, we need to click off, or you can select all of it. Click on the template to deselect the template and the text. Oh, where am I going there? Deselect the template and the text. And it's grouped. I'm sorry, we'll have to go ungroup. Okay. Now we deselect the template and the text with just your drawing grouped and group that, and you can move it as a group anywhere, but you don't want to do that until the drawing is all completed. Okay. And when the drawing is all completed, you could take the template and delete it, take the text and delete it, and there you have your black and white version of the template. Let's go back, undo clear of the template. Let's look at them side by side. I'm sorry. Uh, Somehow or another, there we go. Um, we can look at them side by side. And make the template 100%. And there you have a good black and white representation of that car. Okay. If you were doing this specific car and the assignment was to include all the graphics on it and so on, you would probably want to do that as well. Okay. I did miss one thing. Okay. I think it's important that we put not the door handle so much, but um, the crack in the door. And I'm doing it over here on the template because uh, I didn't resize the template or anything yet at this point. Let me zoom in to make sure I'm getting it. Okay. Uh, There we go. Take the fill out, fill it with black, or put a black stroke on it. Take the fill out. Then I'm just going to move it over into place. Oh, I'll use a black arrow to move it. So if when you're done, you see something you want to add, you can always add it in that manner. Okay. So there you go. Um, you have your black and white, and you have your color image, and they are that's a pretty good representation of this particular vehicle. Okay. It doesn't have all the pieces in on mine, but you can fill all the pieces in on yours. If you want to go as far as to put the decorations on it, the graphics, you can do that as well. Okay, but make sure you get all of the essential pieces on there at the beginning. Okay, so that you complete that. All right, and remember, there's a second car to draw. It's a side view, and you'll do it the same way that was described in the demo here in this. Um, Good luck with this. I'll see you next week. I wanted to give you a full week to work on this on your own because um, I think you can. I want to see how much of this you can handle and how much you retain from the South Park and from the shapes. Those should be the primers for this project, and you should be able to do something like this on your own. So we're going to see how that goes. All right. We'll review them in the next class, and then we will give you the opportunity to make any revisions to the drawings before you actually hand them in for a grade. All right. So good luck with this, and I'm sure you're going to be fine. I can't wait to see them. Take care. Bye bye.